Hello and welcome back to episode 5 of the Couch Crickets. My name is Carel and with me in studio today we have a special guest. Henk Kleynhans is joining me as my usual host Chris is out of town. Very welcome, Henk.
Thanks for having me on your show, Carel. It's nice to be here.
So Henk is also an avid cricketer. Can you give us some background on that?
Not much background to give. I played some provincial cricket at under 11 level, and from there on, more wannabe batsman, keeper, but more supporter.
Sounds a lot like my action cricket CV, which I used to get on the show. Anyway, so let's take a look at what happened this week. The week started off with another rained out game. Sri Lanka versus Bangladesh, once again abandoned.
More of the same. This is
now actually the World Cup with the most abandoned games due to rain, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, moved on to Australia versus Pakistan, and that was a pretty interesting game. David Warner coming back and scoring 100.
Yeah, very slow 100 once again. David Warner is a transformed cricketer.
But in the end, 307 was quite enough, with Australia's seam attack proving to be a bit too much for Pakistan. And Pakistan once again proving that they're not all that at the moment.
Yeah, Pakistan created a lot of hype at the start of the tournament, but at the end of the day, it's only Mohamed Amir taking more wickets than the rest of the bowlers combined, and he's not being backed up by his batsmen, unfortunately.
And then India and New Zealand, a game which I really looked forward to, once again, abandoned due to rain.
This was supposed to be a dry summer in England. A lot of spinners coming into play, but at the end of the day, the rain staying true to its country.
Okay, then we moved on to West Indies versus England, and England proving that they're in a bit of a class of their own. Chasing down, firstly bowling out West Indies for 212, and then chasing down the 212 quite easily. Joe Root with a nice 100. I don't know what you thought about that game, Henk.
Well, Jofra Archer has got some serious pace. I do not want to face that guy. He looks angry. But Joe Root is class, scoring his second century.
And he actually got 2 wickets as well.
And 2 wickets. I mean, fantastic stuff. And it was just 2 different league teams playing against each other.
I had a bit of a flashback to I think it was the 2016 T20 World Cup Final. I don't know if you remember that, but what happened was West Indies and England played the final, and eventually West Indies won that with the Carlos Brathwaite hitting 4 sixes of the last 4 balls. But I think in like the second or third over or something at the very start, they gave Joe Root the ball, and he actually got Chris Gayle with like a little dangling carrot. And I feel this was much of the same, because Nicholas Puran was going well, and Hetmar, they were sort of building an innings, and England gave the ball to Joe Root, and he sort of just dangled a couple of offies, and West Indies couldn't resist the temptation to go after them.
Well, Ian Morgan must be very happy when this happens, when you put on a part-timer and he takes a wicket, and it must be so satisfying as a captain. But on the topic of Chris Gayle, the universe boss, if you label yourself the universe boss, you got to back it up at the big tournaments, and unfortunately, he's not. Yeah,
he hasn't been able to perform. Yeah, pretty disappointing. But anyway, much of a muchness. England cool, calm, and collected in the chase, beating the West Indies quite comfortably. The next game we take a look at is Australia versus Sri Lanka, and Australia setting quite a good total of 337. Aaron Finch with a wonderful 150 seems to be finding form finally, and Steve Smith, as can be expected, 73. And finally, some fireworks from the big show, Glenn Maxwell, with a spicy 43 of 25.
Yeah.
Pretty good batting effort from Australia, if you ask me.
Fantastic performance. Aaron Finch had a horrible run up to the World Cup. He could not buy a run, but his coaching, the main coach, Justin Langer, backed him all the way, saying he needs one big score to bring him back in the game. And he's now one of the top scorers in the tournament thus far.
Yeah, definitely.
So well done to Justin Langer for backing his boy.
Yeah, it just shows once again that there is some value in sticking with the proven player through these sort of low patches where they don't seem to score runs.
Absolutely.
Sri Lanka then getting off to a very good start with their two openers both scoring 50, but then just falling apart. Mitchell Starc seemingly just too good for them, picking up 4 wickets, and Sri Lanka crashing to 247 all out. I mean, Mitchell Starc, he just does it on a big stage. ICC tournaments, he's your man.
Mitchell Starc is amazing. He's the only bowler thus far that could really extract any swing in the later stages of the game. And at a massive pace. It's amazing what he can do with the ball, and he's a very big asset to Australia. Even though Sri Lanka had the base to work from, as you mentioned, just falling apart because they could not handle the pace of Mr. Starc.
The late movement he gets towards the end of the innings is especially impressive in my opinion, given that they're playing with 2 balls. So essentially the ball he's bowling with is only like 20 overs old or so. So
I wonder how they get the ball to move that early. I'll just throw that in there.
We'll leave that. Apparently they use...
I do not want to take anything away from Mr. Starc. He's bowling amazing well.
Apparently they're using hand warmers now. But anyway, a comfortable victory for Australia, and they seem to be cementing their spot in the playoffs. So on to South Africa versus Afghanistan. And that was really interesting, Henk, because South Africa bowled first, and Afghanistan got off to quite a good start. Then the rain break came, and Imran Tahir ran through them, along with Chris Morris, bowled them out for 125.
Yeah, I feel for Afghanistan because they did get off to a start. They were composed, and I think they were constructing the innings perfectly. But it's difficult to do a stop-start like that. Yeah. And with the outfield being wet, or the pitch maybe sticking a bit, and Imran Tahir just coming in and cleaning them up, I think the second half of our bowling performance was clinical, combined with Afghanistan just throwing away some wickets.
South Africa chased it down quite easily. Took us 28 overs. Only lost 1 wicket. But something we have to discuss, in my opinion, is South Africa's approach to this. So Quinton de Kock got 68 from 72. So that's going at a strike rate of 94. That's fair enough. But Hashim Amla got 41 of 83. Now that's going at a strike rate of 49. Now, you could argue that, yes, he's a player out of form, he needs time in the middle, and this was the perfect opportunity. But at that stage, we were still, mathematically anyway, in the tournament, and net run rate would have made a big difference. So, isn't that just an illustration that South Africa might have a bit of intent lacking?
Absolutely. It was a bit just lackluster. Even Quinton de Kock didn't play freely. He scored at a reasonable rate, but not his. He didn't construct his innings as he usually would, and it looked like it was the game plan just to cruise through this innings with as little as possible damage.
Yeah,
I understand for the first couple of overs, just in case there might come some rain, and you don't want to struggle with Duckworth Lewis at the end. So you want wickets in hand. But as soon as the game is 20 overs old, you know you're on top. Just get the runs down. Net run rate would have been crucial if we had any chance in this tournament.
Yeah, and in the end, we won the game comfortably, chased the total down in 28, 29 overs. But we'll get back to South Africa just in a moment, because they actually played their second game today as we're recording, and we're not delving into that disappointing
We'll get there.
We'll get there. So then on to arguably the biggest game, the most expected game of this World Cup, India versus Pakistan. I think I saw that the ratings were that there were 1 billion people watching the game. I mean, the hype was unbelievable.
Some Game of Thrones stuff.
Yeah. So, India batting first and starting off slow once again. But in the end, Rohit Sharma with 140 of 113. Unbelievable innings from him. Carel with a 57 up top. The two openers provided a great platform, and Virat Kohli did what Virat Kohli does and got another 77 at better than a runnable. And they ended up with a total of 336. And to be honest, Pakistan never seemed to be in the game for me.
Yeah, I agree with you, Carel. The Indian top order, along with the England top order, just seems to be playing on different pitches. They are seeing soccer balls. And Rohit Sharma, his control was amazing. And as you said, Virat Kohli just coming in and doing his thing, and it would have been so easy for him because there was absolutely no pressure with the base that was set for him.
And then, once again, the game affected by rain a bit, shortened to 40 overs. But it still seemed like Pakistan was never in the game. There was a small period where Fakhar Zaman and Babar Azam actually had a good partnership going. And then they fell like dominoes to the spin of Kuldeep and Hardik Pandya's medium pace. Yeah. So, once again, Pakistan not showing. I don't know. A very hyped up game, not really delivering to the hype.
Yeah, the history is obviously big with India and Pakistan, but if you look at the history with them in World Cups, this is not a surprise result. And even the Pakistani captain Sarfaraz admitting after the game at the press conference that they are not in the same league as India, and this game maybe did get too much airtime.
There's obviously a political aspect to it as well. They've got a lot of political sort of problems with each other, but anyway, we won't get into that. But
politics in cricket?
Yeah, well, we don't know. But I'll have to fact check this, but if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Pakistan has beaten India in a World Cup ever.
No, they have not.
So that's ominous if you're Pakistan, because it doesn't seem like India's going to slow down at some point soon.
Yeah, we'll get to this later on, but 2023 World Cup is also in India.
Oh, oof. Okay, but anyway,
maybe too early for that.
Too early for that. So, moving on, West Indies versus Bangladesh, and this was not expected to be one of the hyped games, but probably my favorite game of the week, with Bangladesh chasing down 321. How impressive was that?
Amazing stuff. This was, if you can call it, two minnow sides playing their hearts out against each other, and this is what the World Cup should be about. It was champagne cricket.
And once again, the universe boss gone for a duck of 13 balls. So
yeah, the team selection for the West Indies must be very difficult. You guys touched on it last week. Jason Holder must have the most difficult job managing that team with a bunch of amazing individuals, but they do not seem to be clicking as a team. And Dre Rice should not have played in that game, and that is a fact.
Yeah, he was definitely injured before the game, and he once again couldn't complete his overs, and that just placed a abnormal strain on the rest of the bowlers. I don't think that's acceptable. I know he's a big player, but I mean, he got 0 of 2 while batting, and he couldn't complete his overs. I'll just check his bowling stats. But he only bowled 6 overs. He did get a wicket though, so maybe not.
Yeah, he is a strike bowler for them. And when your strike bowler breaks down, that is a big problem. But Shakib Al Hassan, take a bow.
Unbelievable innings from him. what impressed me the most is from him and Liton Das. So Liton Das scored 94 of 69, and it's actually his first game of the tournament. He came in and sort of hit the ground running. And I mentioned this earlier to you, Henk, but what was the most impressive about this chase is that Shakib Al Hasan didn't score 100 and get out, which sometimes is the trend. He scored 100 and he finished the game off. He didn't leave 20 or 30 or 40 runs for the new batsman to get. Finished it off, and they actually finished it off quite easily with 8 overs to spare. I mean, they could have gotten 400 if the target wasn't so low.
Yeah, it comes down to game awareness and taking responsibility, realizing that the guy at the other end is scoring runs quite freely, and he can knock it around, just stay in and provide the platform for the team. And the way they constructed the innings was masterclass, and they don't have to stand down for anyone in this tournament.
So just before we move on, we've spoken about these big sort of personalities in the West Indies team, more of the older players, your Chris Carel, your Andre Russell, that type of player. I do want to mention their middle order batting, which I'm very excited about for the future, because they seem like it's Shai Hope, Nicholas Pooran, and Shimron Hetmeyer. It's 3 players who are young, they look full of energy, and they've really been putting in some quality performances. They've been scoring most of the runs so far for the West Indies this World Cup. So if you look on that front, West Indies cricket suddenly not looking that bad in terms of, Project 2023, which we'll get to in a moment.
Yeah, it also goes down to their test side, which has also been struggling. And Shai Hope really looks the part, big time. He
looks class.
So hopefully the tides are turning for the West Indies, even though they got a big hiding in this game.
Then moving on to the highest scoring game of this year's World Cup so far, England versus Afghanistan. Your poor Afghanistan.
Still not 400, eh?
Still not 400. But that innings from Owen Morgan was something special.
That's why I don't want to be a bowler. And Ian Morgan just taking the record away from Mr. 360 AB de Villiers for the most sixes in one innings, hitting 17 big ones.
He scored 148 from 71 balls, going at a strike rate of 200. That is unbelievable. So he hit, like Henk mentioned, he hit 17 sixes and he only hit 4 fours. So, I mean, death or glory, I suppose, and he got the glory.
And that's what you want from your captain, taking responsibility on himself. Yes, it's against Afghanistan. Yes, they are not the best side, but they did qualify for this World Cup, and you still have to hit the ball.
And if you take a look at the Afghanistan bowlers, so Rashid Khan went for 110 of 9 overs. That's the most any bowler has ever gone for in a World Cup match. If you take a look at that, Rashid Khan, he's not a bad bowler. If you take a look at his IPL record, his limited over, especially when people try and take him on, he's rated as one of the most feared leg spinners in the IPL. So you can't take away anything from that innings. It was unbelievable.
Even though they lost by 150 odd runs, there was still a proper effort they put into their chase. They didn't just fall over. They played reverse sweeps against one of the best spinners in this tournament. And if we take it back to the opening game, South Africa couldn't pick Rashid for one delivery, and they made it look easy.
Yeah. I mean, they scored a very respectable 250. Well, 247, but almost 250, which is a very respectable effort, according to me. Giving Owen Morgan all the praise, but just once again, Joe Root scoring 88, Bairstow getting 90. So, all-round effort in the end. And Moeen Ali finishing it off with 31 from 9. Finally.
Ouch.
That's some big hitting. So finally sort of contributing with the bat, because he's been having a bit of a tough tournament. I think he was dropped for the previous 2 games of England. So I think he'll be happy with that performance.
Always nice when guys chip in with a 90 and an 80 and a 30 from 9. It helps.
Okay, and now, unfortunately, we've reached the stage in the show where we'll have to talk about South Africa versus New Zealand. But before we get to that, let's talk. I want to talk about something positive. So this weekend, I was braaiing with some friends, and one of the people who were responsible to bring the firelighters forgot them. And we were on a mountain, and suddenly we needed firelighters. And I remembered someone told me about this app, Finch, and apparently you can have alcohol and braai things like charcoal and blitz delivered to you using your app. I mean, that's unbelievable. But anyway, in the end, they don't deliver at the top of a mountain. But nonetheless,
unacceptable.
But nonetheless, I think if you find yourself in a situation where you might need some firelighters or alcohol delivered to your doorstep, go check them out. And we have a bit of a promo code for you as well. If you use RUNS50, so that's RUNS 50, all capital letters, then you'll receive 50 Rand off your order. The most important thing is to not get stuck in a situation where you don't have blitz to light your fire. I mean, what is cricket even without a fire going in the background?
Hashtag Protea fire.
Hashtag Proteas up in flames.
Ouch.
But anyway, unfortunately, we have to talk about South Africa now. So for those of you that did not watch the match, South Africa set a total of 241 for 6, and New Zealand chased it fairly comfortable, I would say. Not like, I don't think it was easy, but they chased it down fairly comfortable with 5 balls to spare and knocking South Africa out of the tournament, essentially. Henk, I think you should start off. What are your thoughts?
Let's start with South Africa's innings, being sent in to bat first after the match was delayed by a wet outfield. And it was quite a strange innings with batsmen getting themselves in and then missing straight ones, barring Quinton de Kock that missed a straight one
just from the start.
First up. Very strange from Quinton de Kock because it was in his area. But after, I thought every time we got into the game well, even though our scoring was at a slow rate, but then losing wickets at regular intervals and no one getting through scoring the big one that we needed.
And that seemed to be the trend of South Africa's sort of batting troubles this tournament. Everyone gets a start, no one takes it through. No one plays your Joe Root anchoring innings, your Kane Williamson, as we saw in the chase. He essentially batted through the whole innings. Didn't worry too much about his run rate, but, it didn't lose wickets, stabilized it, and gave the rest of the batting order the stability and freedom to express themselves.
Yeah, we need someone to take responsibility, and we need a hero to anchor our innings, and it's not happening.
So before I would like to mention some positives, but before we get into the positives, Aiden Markram, I'm disappointed. I expected big things of him this tournament, and he's been getting starts almost every game and getting out. Once again, 38 and out. I just feel he's a premier batsman. That's simply not good enough, in my opinion.
I mean, look what he does at test level. And if he can do that at the test level, and the shots he has in his quiver is amazing. And a lot of people backing him to be the next captain for South Africa. He's already been captain once or twice. And unfortunately, he's just not stepping up to the plate. And I understand if you get a good one first up, but he's getting himself in and he's getting in good positions and he's looking confident and then not pulling it through. And unfortunately just not good enough.
Almost like his shot selection seems to let him down once he's... I think I heard a discussion on TV where they said it feels like he gets himself in and then he starts to feel he has to over-accelerate almost, and he starts to play stupid shots and gets out. But anyway, David Miller, another one. Seemingly not his game, huh?
Bad game for him and a bad tournament altogether.
I don't even know where to start. So his innings wasn't that bad. I mean, he got 36 of 37, almost scoring at a runner ball. It's not the worst, though.
No, we just needed him to
be
stick
more,
in.
yeah.
I mean, he got in, stay in, be there at the end when we need you.
So we were talking about how South Africa need a champion, and I feel at this stage, my boy Rassie van a business putting up his hand for that. I mean, a quality innings in my opinion from him, 67 not out of 64. Sort of, that's the type of player we need, I feel.
Absolutely. Rassie must have been through a tough time in the media last couple of weeks with people saying that if Mr. AB was picked, he would have missed out. And Rassie being our top run scorer for this tournament. And my absolute hats off to him.
Yeah, he's been doing really well. So, I mean, in the end, 241, New Zealand did bowl well. And the surface did seem a bit sticky, especially when they took a bit of pace off the ball. It seemed to be quite difficult to get a hold of the ball. But I still feel in the end there was a middle period where we sort of lost the plot a bit and were just meandering about a bit too much, ending up with 241, probably just 30 or 40 runs short of a winning total.
Yeah, maybe New Zealand assessing the conditions a bit better than we have.
So then the bowling effort, pretty good for the first 20 to 25 overs, in my opinion. We got a bit lucky with some early wickets, but I mean, you make your own luck.
Yes, we got them at, I think, 86 for 4 at one stage.
Yeah, 80 for 4 if I'm not.
80 for 4. And I thought, yes, we are in the pound seats. We need the one big wicket of Kane Williamson and our heads are through. And a spectacular performance from Chris Morris, who again would not have been in this tournament
if it wasn't for injury to Untitled Chapter. Yeah.
And he's putting his hand up. I mean, he bowled excellent against India as well. And once again today, being our strike bowler. Yeah,
I mean, ending with figures of 3 for 49, that's pretty good. And I must say, I was one of his biggest critics when Untitled Chapter got injured. I said, well, if you're bringing in Chris Morris, you're bringing him essentially as a main seam bowler, and I was just wondering whether he would be able to do the job, and he's been doing it, so hats off to him as well. That was a really good performance. But
he's got a hunger. He wants to take wickets. He looks angry when he bowls. We're talking about that passion that we want to see from our players, and he's definitely got it, and I hope he can be there for the future.
Lungi Ngidi, to be honest, not looking as if he has fully recovered from his injury, if I'm honest. I don't know what you thought, Dink.
Yeah, Ngidi is a magnificent player, and we need him to spearhead our attack alongside Rabada. But definitely, in his first match back, I didn't think he played against Afghanistan.
First match back, yeah.
And it must be difficult. Your confidence is down, but towards the end, a lot of cutters, maybe part of the game plan, but if you looked at his follow-through, it was basically no follow-through. So definitely not fully recovered, in my opinion, but pretty disappointing overall.
And then once again, a quality performance from Imran Tahir. very, very unlucky to not get a wicket, but ending with 10 overs, 33 runs. And I feel that last over of his was the turning point of the game, where, for those of you that didn't watch the game, there was one opportunity where Kane Williamson chipped it to mid-wicket, and David Miller just couldn't get there. And later in the over, Colin de Grandhomme hit it in the air towards mid-wicket, and although it was a diving catch from Miller, he did get a hand to it, and it was an opportunity. And then on the last ball of the over, Kane Williamson edging it through to Quinton de Kock, and it being taken, but nobody appealed.
Barring Tayer,
but,
obviously.
But he always appeals, so...
Yeah, that was game, set and match right there. That was, we were working for that wicket, and once again, against New Zealand, things just not going our way.
The elephant in the room in this game was Andile Pehlukwayo's bowling performance, actually. He bowled 8.3 overs and went at 8.5 an over. So, not blaming him for sort of losing it in the last over. Not talking about that. Talking about even before that, he was going at 7s, 8s. Bowling, he bowled a no ball, a full toss no ball, which was dropped at fine leg. So, sure, it was a no ball, so it wouldn't have been out anyway, but that gave the batsman a free hit, and sort of just, there were these crucial little moments of a couple of run-outs we missed. I don't want to say it, but I just feel like South Africa didn't quite, there were crucial moments and they didn't rise to the occasion. I don't want to use the C word.
Yeah, no C word. Let's say a comedy of errors. And it's really disappointing. There's not too much more to say about it.
So South Africa...
On to Project 2023.
I mean, South Africa's out of the tournament now. I don't know how they're going to approach the rest of the games, sort of trying to give the guys exposure. I don't know. But if we just take a look at how the tournament is shaping up overall, New Zealand, India, England and Australia looking like set top 4 at the moment.
Yeah, the top 4 looks set, and if there's going to be a dark horse, I'm hoping it's going to be Bangladesh.
Yeah.
Bangladesh really playing good cricket, and we would like to see them in there.
And I think a crucial point for them actually is tomorrow, where they play Australia. And if they can somehow manage to knock over Australia, that will be huge for them.
Absolutely.
So then, I think we are going to wallow in the sadness for a while. But just to cover Project 2023 a bit, Henk, how do you think, what do you think is the way forward for South Africa now? How do they approach this to build a team to perform better in the 2023 World Cup?
Well, there's a lot of guys who will retire before then. A lot of guys have done great for South African cricket, and I have to mention Mr. Tayer.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Unbelievable service he's done for South Africa.
We're going to miss him.
Definitely, especially since it's going to be in India.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be a lot of fresh players. We don't have to clean up anything. I think it will be a natural transition from guys retiring and new guys coming in. And we need champions. We need people that are hungry to win cricket games. And we need spinners. It was mentioned that maybe South Africa is the most difficult place in the world to face seam bowling, as India is probably the most difficult place to face spin bowling. So we need to develop, we need to make an effort to develop in our spin department, because we are not a complete side without it.
Okay, so I think that's it for this week. Unfortunately, the Proteas campaign has gone up in flames. #Protea fire. But we as Protea fans, we've unfortunately become accustomed to these things. So I think we'll be able to deal with it. Henk, thank you very much for joining me this week, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the World Cup.
Thanks for having me, Carel, and let's hope we can still beat Australia. That'll still be fun. There's still something to take away from this World Cup. If we can beat Australia, I'll still be quite happy.
And if we can beat Australia, and Australia just maybe slip up against Bangladesh, and that means they don't make top 4, that'll make my week.
Yes, please.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us on the couch. Bye-bye.